Good morning, everyone. My name is Elise Smith, and I work for Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services on the newly created Workforce Technical Assistance Center. We want to welcome both our returning grantees today that are here for program updates, as well as those who are joining us for the first time to learn more about participating in the two current workforce funding opportunities. And these two funding opportunities we're going to discuss today are both the Great Minds Fellowship as well as the Welcome Back campaign. So here we have our agenda for the day. It's going to be a brief webinar, but we're going to go through a campaign overview for our newbies. We are going to talk about the eligibility requirements for these funding opportunities, the options for each of them, as well as the funding period and when that will end. We are going to talk about the tracking and disbursement updates, as well as the important updates to, as I just said, the dates and when these funding disbursement opportunities will end, as well as the total funding period. And then at the very end, we have an update that we're excited to share about an opportunity called the Great Minds Workforce Incentive Loan Repayment Program. So you'll have to stick through this till the end to hear more about that opportunity. So for our new attendees, the two funding opportunities we are going to discuss today target two very different populations of the behavioral health workforce. And we are going to touch on where those started right now. So both opportunities are dedicated to growing the behavioral health field, recruiting new professionals, and also working on bringing back our tenured and experienced professionals to the field. These were both one-time limited American Rescue Plan ARPA dollars. The Welcome Back campaign has a total of $5 million attached to it that will be on a first come, first served basis. And the Great Minds Fellowship Internship Site Support funding, which is just a portion of that funding, has 11 million attached to that. And both funding opportunities will end in March of 2025. So as I just pointed out, these two funding opportunities target two very different populations of our behavioral health workforce. The Great Minds Fellowship campaign is a collaboration between Medicaid, the Ohio Department of Higher Education, and Ohio Mental Health and Addiction Services. And this campaign is targeted at bringing newly licensed and credentialed clinicians into the field. So this campaign offers three categories of funding. The first category of funding is going directly to students while they are in school in their program of study. And that funding is being administered by the universities. The second area of funding for this is being provided to our community behavioral health centers, and we are administering this. This is that 11 million we just spoke about on the prior slide, and that is going to our community behavioral health centers that will be hosting these Great Minds Fellows as they sign up with their schools and providing them with internship sites. And then the last piece of this program is providing funding to the students post-graduation as they enter the workforce for their 1-year employment commitment. So the students for signing up have two commitments, one that they do an internship with one of our CBHCs, and the other that they do 1 year of employment post-graduation with our CBHC. And we'll elaborate that on a little more in the slides to follow. So the Welcome Back campaign was created to target our tenured and experienced clinicians that we have lost in the field for one reason or another, and to bring them back to our behavioral health workforce in Ohio. These clinicians include all of our frontline direct service staff, licensed and credentialed or not. So this is not kind of pigeonholed into you have to have credentials or letters or licensure after your name. So this is any of our direct service staff. And again, we'll elaborate more on that in the upcoming slides. This program provides hiring bonuses for our community behavioral health centers to utilize and incentivize these experienced staff to come back to behavioral health. So again, we'll talk more about the criteria for both these campaigns in the later slides. This was just a quick overview. We also have 2 dedicated websites to each campaign. So this very first website for Great Minds is hosted on our sister agency, the Ohio Department of Higher Education's website. We have a link here. We're also going to have a link at the end of the PowerPoint that you'll be able to use a QR code to hop in a lot quicker as well. But you can find the Great Minds website from OMAS and from ODHE. On these websites, there are toolkits that include flyers you can use at your agency, posters to recruit professionals if you want to use them on your social media, in post, even to share positions at your agency. And there's all sorts of other resources. There's webinars in the past that go over a lot of the intricacies of the program, and PowerPoints and guidance documents and pretty much everything at your fingertips on this website. The second website can be found on our wellness workforce page through the OMAS website. This website also includes a variety of toolkits with flyers and posters and other things you can use around your agency. And you'll learn more about why you might want to use these later. You can use these to incentivize internal staff in helping you bring some of our tenured staff back to the field. So we will touch on that more, but there's also social media posts and graphics and posters. You can add your own logos to the bottom left corner, and there's an OMAS logo on the bottom right. So you can use those as you will and in various capacities. And I am going to kick it over to Misty Milstead to take over and pick up from here.
Thank you, Elise. Talk about the eligibility for both programs. So for both Welcome Back and Great Minds, our community behavioral health centers will need to be licensed with us and also a Medicaid provider, home and community-based types 84 and 95. The Great Minds internship site support funding can only reimburse for Great Minds interns that are interning with you starting July 1 of 2024 through January 15th, 2025. So for example, let's say someone started with you as an intern maybe in June for summer semester, but they continued to be an intern through 7/1 2024. They would be eligible to be claimed for the summer internship funding. Welcome Back new hires. There is different criteria for them. They needed to previously work in a behavioral health position. And it doesn't have to be that they had to work for a CBHC. They could have worked for any type of behavioral health position. But they can't be employed in a behavioral health position within the last 30 days of the hire. And hired positions is a direct service position in a qualifying CBHC, so a non-institutional setting. And they can be full-time or part-time, and it does not need to be a licensed professional. It can be, but that's not a requirement. And this applies to new hires as for July 1 of 2024 through January 15th of 2025. So one of the examples that I wanted to share for the Welcome Back is, let's say someone was employed in the behavioral health field for several years, but then they got burned out and decided to leave for an extended period of time that was greater than 30 days. And then they decided that they could have worked elsewhere, in retail or what have you. And then when they come back and get employed with your agency, if they're in a direct support position and they've not been working in the behavioral health field for the last 30 days, they would be eligible for this funding. Next slide, please. So we have some examples here of eligible positions and then also positions that would not qualify. This is not an exhaustive list, and so if you have any particular questions, feel free to reach out to us. But we have some examples of the direct service positions that would be included in this funding. Hires in like case management, intake specialists, therapists, counselors, nurses, employment specialists, peer supports, and benefits specialists. Some examples of the positions that would not qualify would be like human resource positions, information technology positions, administrative professionals, and then residential positions such as for the housing programs or inpatient hospitals. Next slide, please. So for the Welcome Back funding options, the CBHCs will be managing the monies for this for the newly hired staff and existing staff that might have been assisting with recruitment efforts. And so the way this works, this is kind of a change this year. So what this is going to be done is you will first pay the employee and the referring employee prior to requesting any fundings from us to reimburse you. And so you would request that by already having a grant application in to Ohio, MOS. And then that will be through the grants management funding system or GFMS. We will require that you give the full bonus amount to employees. And we've also have like some options over here to kind of give like a demonstration. So the first option would be a $2,500 bonus for the new employee, and then you would give $500 to a referring employee. So let's say you had a counselor who had a friend or someone who they referred to apply and you hired at your agency. So the new employee would get $2,500 and then the referring employee would get $500. The other option is like if someone just comes to your agency and applies without being referred by a fellow employee, they would be provided $3,000 directly as the sign-on bonus. So in either case, it totals $3,000. So it just depends on if you're dividing it up with a referring employee or not. And we know that many providers asked for this last year, and so we're excited to share that for fiscal year 2025, we do have an administrative fee of $300 for each new hire to cover taxes. And so this is the one exception to the dates. We can backdate these $300 administration fees back to July 1 of 2023 and would include hires through January 15th of 2025. One of the items that we also wanted to share here is this funding opportunity is geared for staff employees who are not owner operators or CEOs. That's the next slide. So Great Minds Recruitment and Retention Bonus. We just wanted to mention this because the students are eligible for this funding after being a Great Minds Fellow and completing their internship and everything. Once they graduate and get employed with another OMOS CBHC that provides Medicaid services type 84 and or 95, and it doesn't have to be the same one that they did their internship site at either. So they could have done their internship site someplace else, but maybe they went to school in Columbus, Ohio, but they live in Cleveland. And so they're returning to Cleveland and get hired by a Cleveland CBHC. And so they would be eligible for this $10,000 hiring bonus. Fellows will be contacted in the next few months via email from our third-party vendor who is going to administer these funds. The fellows should have completed a survey from their school in which they were included an updated email. And this is how the vendor will reach out, by having that student's contact information from that survey that the school submitted to the students. If the students for some reason did not complete the survey from the school, they can reach out to us and we can assist with the link. And now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Caitlin.
So we're going to talk a little bit here on the Great Minds funding options. As it was previously talked about, we have a couple different components to Great Minds, but this is specifically talking about the internship site support funding. And this will be the pay that will go to the organizations to cover the administrative costs to host these students. Previously in FY24, we had different amounts, and we're pleased to say that we have listened to your feedback and are going to increase the internship site support dollars for the interns that you host. So there are going to be two different pay structures for internship site support. One is going to include just a flat fee of $4,500 for each intern that you host, and that will be in any area throughout the state. Now, if your organization is in what we consider an elevated grant area, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment, you will be eligible for hosting that student at $5,000 per intern. Okay, so we will have specific instructions on what those elevated grant areas are and how to determine if your organization is in one of those elevated grant areas. This will be in our guidebook that we have developed, and these will be on the program websites for you to access and to go through step by step on deciphering if you are in one of those elevated grant areas. So just note, we have listened to you and we've increased the amounts for this internship site support accordingly. Next slide. So for each program, there's going to be a separate application that will be completed in our grants management system called GFMS. If you participated in one of these initiatives in fiscal year 24 and you were actually dispersed funds, you are going to receive a renewal notice from our GFMS system via email, and that's going to allow you to go in and renew your grant from FY24, carry over much of the information in that application for the FY25 application. However, if you applied for one of these programs and you were not dispersed funds previously in FY24, you will need to complete a new application. If you did not participate at all last year, you will need to complete a new application in our grants management system. Again, we've created a wonderful GFMS guidebook that will give you step-by-step instructions on how to complete these applications. So please refer to the websites for each program to locate these updated guidebooks. When you're completing the applications, please consider the following. You want to look at your previous employment trends and then what you currently have open for eligible positions or what you anticipate having open throughout the funding period. There will not be a specific limit to the amount an agency can apply for. However, we do encourage you to consider these factors when you're completing your applications. And then just a few reminders on our funding dates. We operate on a state fiscal cycle, which means fiscal year 25 officially started July 1st of 2024. And then since these funds are time limited, they are going to expire in March. So the funding period will actually need to end January 15th of 2025 to allow our team to approve disbursement requests before the funds actually expire. Next slide, please. As with most funding, we are interested in specific data points to evaluate the effectiveness of our programs. Each program, both Great Minds and Welcome Back, have different data tracking tools that will need to be completed at the time of your disbursement request. The data we are collecting is similar from the previous year in FY24 with a few minor changes. When you complete your application, we will then mail out disbursement instructions along with the data tracking tools. Please note, data tracking tools are in an Excel format. And in order for us to evaluate this data, we are going to need you as grantees to provide this data in an Excel document format. Please do not send in Google Drive or other formats. Also similar to last year, we will require all new hires for Welcome Back to complete a self-attestation form. You will need to have each new hire that qualifies complete this self-attestation form and keep on file at your agency in the event of an audit. You will not be required to submit these to our department unless you are audited. The self-attestation form can be found on the Welcome Back website and will be mailed when your application is approved with the disbursement instructions. One question we've received in the past is, for the referring employees on the Welcome Back campaign, do agencies have to provide any information on the referring employee that they are giving the $500 to? The answer is the only information we're going to ask is that you complete the data tracking tool and that you include the name of the staff who you paid the referral bonus to in the comments section on the tracking tool. The last update on the tracking is at the addition of the administrative fee for the Welcome Back campaign. So we will also be adding a column on the data tracking tool for you to identify these funds to be paid. Since we are allotting agencies to request retroactive administrative fees for FY24, we will also have a new form you will complete one time that will outline how many new hires you had last year and the amount that you are requesting. This form will also be located on the Welcome Back website as well. Next slide. So again, just to reiterate a couple of important dates, and you can pull this slide out just to maybe mark your calendars. This month here in September of 2024, applications and renewals for both of these initiatives will start to open. Then on December 31st, this will be the last day to apply or renew your applications for either campaign or program. Again, it takes time to have our team and our fiscal team review applications, and so this will allow that time to happen before you are issued your notice of subaward. We've also put on here, again, a January 15th date for the program funding period to end. This will allow us to wrap up and have disbursement requests occur from the January 15th date through February 28th. So all disbursements will need to be requested during that time, at the latest February 28th. This will allow us, again, to wrap up and end our funding before the March 2025 deadline. Next slide. And with that, we're going to close with this very, very big and exciting announcement. The Great Minds Fellowship Workforce Commitment Incentive Program provides loan incentives on behalf of new graduates who commit to working at one of our CBHCs for at least 1 year of full-time employment. So to be eligible to apply for this Workforce Commitment Incentive Program, the graduate or applicant must be employed at a CBHC providing direct care or have an employment offer from an eligible CBHC for a direct care position. They need to commit to at least 1 year of full-time employment, and full-time is defined as an average of 32 hours or more per week. And they had to have graduated or received their certification in or after May 20 of 2023 from one of the following academic programs: marriage and family counseling, mental health counseling, psychiatric mental health nursing, social work, substance abuse and addiction counseling, or related academic programming. Again, academic program relatedness will be determined by the Ohio Department of Higher Education. These loan incentives are going to be awarded up to $20,000, subject to availability of the funds. Great Minds Fellowship Workforce Commitment Incentive Program funds will be used to repay the principal and interest of an educational loan issued by the government or a financial institution taken by an individual for tuition and other educational related expenses, such as fees, books, and room and board. Personal loans or loans from any other entity, including family, will not be eligible. The application for this program will go live on the Ohio Department of Higher Education's website on October 1st. The application will close November 15th. applicants will need to attach a digital copy of their college or university transcript demonstrating graduation date and the appropriate academic program. We've put on here, if you do have any questions, again, this will be administered by our partners at the Ohio Department of Higher Education, so please refer to them with any questions that you may have on this program. Next slide. So I just want to close. As always, our team appreciates all the hard work and dedication that you bring each day to growing our behavioral health workforce. Your continued partnership is important to us, so feel free to please reach out to us using our workforce box email. We have also included a QR code here that you can scan that will take you directly to our Wellness Workforce page, where all the links for both the Great Minds and the Welcome Back campaigns can be found. Again, thank you and have a wonderful day.